friends, this is Caitlin. Welcome to my channel and my first official video for my Halloween 2025 video series. Now this one starts off a little different. If you don't want to see any of this leaf inking stuff, go ahead and you can fast forward to 2:44. But I decided to leave this in because there's kind of a funny story. So I had so much fun inking up this white panel. I'm going in with all of these new Distress Oxide mini cubes that I splurged and treated myself to. And I keep meaning to use them, but I've always been more of a Distress ink person than an Oxide person. I don't always love the coating that the oxides create. And so, but I've been pushing myself to try something different, right? So I was so excited. I'm like blending all of these colors and I love the leaves that we end up with, but I could not figure out how to use them with this card that I'm making in a way that I liked. The coating just did not match the vibes of the card and how pigmented everything was and vibrant everything was. So I still have them. I plan on using them at some point. But I wanted to also be really honest because I feel like this is something that happens to me decently often where I have these intentions of how, multiple things are going to come together and then they just don't. Or like my brain just decides that we don't like that idea anymore. So I wanted to leave it in. And I also am really happy with in general how they turned out on their own. So I wanted to share, some of the process with you and keep it in. But I'm not going to be using these on the finished card. So I went in with all those distress inks. I went in with 2 different mica stains. I sprayed this whole panel down with water, which is really what activated that oxide in it. And I'm telling you right now too, this was not watercolor paper. This was just heavyweight white cardstock and it still held up so well. I love the mica shine from this. I love how runny and drippy everything turned out. And then I'm going in with these Pink and Main lots of leaves dies. There's different sizes of the same leaf over and over. And so we're going to cut 2 different passes through. I'm going to end up with all of these leaves and they're so pretty. But like I said, the undertone of them just didn't fit my vision. So even now, when I was editing, looking back at the video, they still look pretty cool, but in the moment, it was just not clicking for me. So I wanted to leave it in case that happens to you. I don't want you to feel like you're alone or something's wrong. I think that's just part of the process. And I love hearing those kinds of stories from other creators. So I wanted to share my story with you on my leaves that aren't going to be on this card. So now back to our actual card. You fast forwarded, welcome. We are stamping out the Pumpkin Spice Cuties from Pink and Main. It's a newer stamp set that came out in August. It's absolutely adorable. I am a pumpkin spice girly through and through. I'm using a piece of orange wood grain, very thin paper that I got in a pack from Michael's. I didn't realize how crazy thin this stuff was, but I do like it. I do think it's fun. So I trimmed that down so that it would be a full A2 size panel, 5.5 by 4 1/4. And then I took some Pink and Main Wildflower cardstock, that really super deep orange, and I used a Sizzix stitched rectangle die to cut that out so that we would have a pretty decent orange frame around it, that wood grain frame around it to mat it up. I'm stamping all of my images on Copic Express It paper with Honey Bee Stamps Intense Black ink. And then I'm stamping my sentiment in one of the orange distress inks. I think it's Crackling Campfire, but I will double check and make sure that it's down in the description for you. But I thought it would be fun to have a little pop of color, and Distress Oxides do really stamp well for sentiments. I had to do mine twice because I got overzealous that first time and really over inked the stamp. It got a little smooshy, but the second one was great. So it was definitely user error, not ink error. I'm going to color up my little fox here first, going in with some darker E-teen colors. So definitely a little bit of a different color blend than I'm used to. I also added this YR14 and I hated it, but I decided to commit and use it to kind of glaze and add this warmth. Then I'm going to go back over those same places with the YR27 and it's going to tone that down. But I do like that you still kind of get that glowing little hint of yellow underneath. I think that's very cute. So for my fox's face and ears and tail, we're going to come in with some E50 markers, just kind of giving that creamy look. If you didn't see, I just released my first ever coloring course, my coloring class, earlier this month. And so if you like Copic coloring and you like fall coloring and making fall cards, you might want to go check out that. I will have the class linked down in the description below for you. And to everybody who did order my class, thank you so much. It's a freestanding class. You can watch whenever you want. You get endless access to the videos. It comes with printables. I have a whole video explaining all about it. I'll put it in the cards here, so it should pop up on the video screen somewhere. But yeah, we're now moving over to our little raccoon. I wanted him to be super dark, but I wanted to use warm gray instead of cool gray markers, just to keep with this very warm, pumpkin spicy feeling of our whole card. So I started out with some W9, blending that out, pulling those colors out with W7, trying really hard to keep the eye part, like where his little eye dots are, on his little mask light, and really keeping that darkest shading to the outer corners. Then we're going to come in with some W5 and start pulling that color more through the center of the face. And I'm going to use all these similar colors for the lighter part too. Like we're going to stick with the W5s through this whole thing. Or sorry, the W markers, the warm grays through this whole little raccoon. So filling in his little eye mask there with that W5 is our lightest shade for this dark trio. Filling in his little feet and his tail stripes. Then we're going to come in with, I think we switch over. Yeah, there we go, to W4. And that's going to be the whole outline around his mask here. We're going to add some to those open stripes of his tail and then blend that out with just a touch of W3. I'm going to add some pink to the inside of his ears. It's the same pink I added to the little blush spot on our fox. And then this little owl is one of my favorite images from this whole stamp set. I love him so much. So we're starting out with E37 on him, then going to E35. And just kind of trying again to leave his little markings around his eyes open for right now. We'll bring those in a lighter shade for that. Going in with that E34 to blend in the rest of him, and then that's when I'm going to start adding a little bit of a shadow curved line on the inner or on the outer edges of his eyes, and then we'll just fill that in with a E31. Brought in a little bit of a yellow and orange for his beak and his feet. For this, for our pumpkin spice latte, I brought in some creamy colors for the cup, and then a little bit of very pale blue and colorless blender for the lid. For the sleeve on the cup, I went for these really pretty deep reds, and we're going to be bringing these back for our leaves and the mug that the raccoon is holding. So I tried to keep my red, orange, and yellow colors that we're using for all of our accessories the same. I thought that would make like a very cute kind of limited color scheme here for these guys. We're also going to come in at the end with some white gel pen and go a little gel pen crazy, because these are just so sweet and cutesy and like, I don't know, there's no realism to them, right? So like I like to just lean in when my images are like that and really emphasize the like extra cuteness level. So here's where we're switching over to our leaves. So again, pulling in those same red tones for 2 leaves from each pile. Then we're also going to bring in an orange and like a mustardy yellow, and it'll be the same oranges as the pumpkins, I believe. So YR09 for these orangey leaves, YR68, and then our highlight shade here is going to be a YR04. I'm only doing one orange leaf in each pile, and then these would be the more like yellowy golden ones. So YR27, YR24, and I'll bring in just one little splash of yellow in here just to make sure that it didn't look brown with some Y17. These are definitely like my favorite kind of colors for any kind of card. These like super warm, cozy pumpkin spice colors are absolutely my favorite. So I'm going to shade in my pumpkins, adding my shadows to the top and bottom. Again, if you're looking for more in-depth pumpkin coloring advice, that's specifically some of the stuff that I talk about in my class and share a couple very detailed, slowed down videos with all of those steps. But otherwise, I'm just kind of emphasizing the shading on either side of those like big center sections of the pumpkins. Then I'm coming in with my white gel pen here, like I said, to really up the cute factor. So we're going to highlight everything, all of the critters, all of their accessories. I am not naturally drawn to add this many highlights, so it was kind of fun to push myself and be like, okay, where else can I put one? Where else can I put one? But I think it turned out so cute. And I always add their little eye highlights because I think that really helps to kind of wake them up and just give them a little something extra. So everybody got little highlights. And for me, my highlights basically look like little curved exclamation points. There's nothing special about them. Sometimes they get a dot on either side of the exclamation point, either end, but that's pretty much it. I'm not doing anything groundbreaking here. And the size of the Jelly Roll gel pen that I'm using is an 8. I also have a 5 and a 10, but the 8 is the one that I use the most. So we're going to cut everything out with the coordinating dies. And I do love that this set comes with a die for the sentiment, but it's not like cut to the letters. It's just that really cute curvy rectangle. I have a feeling I'm going to be grabbing this for some other projects, like just other tiny sentiments. It's a really good size. So I'm holding everything up and just kind of mapping out where everything's going to be. There's no adhesive involved yet. And here's where I'm trying to tie in those leaves. And again, I feel like looking at them here on camera, it's harder to tell, but that coating with how bold and saturated all of my other elements were, it just was not working. And I felt like I was having to force it. I felt like I was trying too hard. So I just opted out. I know that I will use them for something. It felt like a sign that this was just not the project for them, and that's okay. I will find something to use them for. And I had a lot of fun making them, and that's the most important part. So I attached my orange rectangle die cut piece to my card base with my Tombow Mono adhesive. And I added foam to the main characters and the sentiment, but not to the owl or the pumpkin. So they're adhered flat with tape runner. Then I'm going to pop up that sentiment there, and then my raccoon and fox are both popped up with foam. And then we'll attach the leaves flat. So we have some really nice kind of stacked dimension here where not everything is on the same level. And that little owl sitting on the pumpkins in the middle of them is so cute. I just love him so much. So I did have to trim down the leaves a little bit on the sides to make sure that they could tuck underneath and behind, mostly the raccoon. I'm also going to come in after we add some gems to this with one more little pile of leaves that I cut and colored off screen just to get them added on. See here, I'm still trying to add leaves. And now looking at it, it looks kind of cute, but in the moment, I promise I was not feeling it. So I gave it a shot and then I just let it go. That's okay. I am adding on these beautiful orange sticky gems, also from Pink and Main. There's like a very light golden orange, kind of a true orange, and then like a burnt, bricky, almost red kind of orange. So I'm going to add a little smattering of those on either side around the leaves. Here's that third additional leaf pile that I'm trimming down and adding to the center. I thought it looked weird having that gap above the sentiment before the pumpkin. So this kind of brings everything together and ties it over. I tried to use my tweezers for these gems. I'm so sorry. I ended up back with my trusty X-Acto knife. So thank you so much for coming to hang out with me. I hope you enjoyed this one. Get excited for even more spooky Halloween content. My goal is for 13 new Halloween and fall videos between now and October 31st. So we'll see what I can do, but I will see you guys back here soon. Have a great day, and until next time, happy crafting.